Hello, I'm going to demonstrate to you another archery kit we've put together. We've specifically put this kit together for those of you who just want to try archery for the first time. So we're going to call this kit the First Shot Archery Kit. It's really a good value mixture of equipment, everything you need to get started, but purely with the emphasis on enjoyment and fun, with some nice stuff. It's going to be a recurve style Olympic bow. We're going to offer this in a couple of different sizes to try and suit as many people as we can. I'll also demonstrate it for you as well. We'll show you how to put it together. We'll shoot it, and hopefully this will give you some information to make a judgment on whether this is the kit for you. So looking more closely at the contents of the kit, we'll start with this one first. This is a typical takedown recurve bow. It's 66 inches in length. It's very similar to what you would find in clubs all around the country. A very common way of starting the sport is with a bow of this style. And the other option for the kit for children, smaller size, is going to be a 54-inch bow, still a takedown recurve bow, but the riser, the main difference here is the riser is going to be a composite one for the child's bow. So as far as identifying which of these two bows will suit you the best, or whoever you may be buying it for, I'll put a chart in the product description. So just compare the chart, make your choice, but both of these are going to cross quite a wide variety of people. Also we have a quiver which has got a belt clip. That's just going to hook on the side. Hold your arrows nicely. It's going to be one size suits everybody for the quiver. And let's have a look at these arrows. We're going to include fiberglass arrows, a set of 5. There'll be 2 sizes of these arrows. There will be 29-inch arrows to suit the larger bow, and we'll have a 26-inch arrow to suit the smaller bow. So the limit of draw length for each bow is going to be 29 for the larger bow and 26 for the smaller bow. We're going to have, of course, a bowstring each. I'll show you how to string the bow in a moment. We've got a simple bow case which will fit all your bits and bobs in there, including your bow and your arrows. A stringer, which is an important component of this style of bow. A arrow rest which we're going to fit, a couple of knocking points, bracer, a simple finger tab, some target pins, a target face, and one of the main features of the kit is this nice large lightweight target. It's very lightweight, really good for the types of kits that we're offering it for sale with. Quite rugged, it will stop the arrows well, and it won't rot if left outside in the rain. So we really like this product, it's a nice addition. I'm going to show you how to assemble this bow because it does come as a kit, it doesn't come pre-strung. And you may have guessed from the name of the bow, it's called a takedown recurve bow. It means that it is designed to be regularly took to pieces and put back together again. It's best if you're not going to be using the bow for a while to de-string it, so you don't store it strung all of the time. Now what I've just done there, I've removed the main limb bolts, top and bottom of the riser, and the smaller composite riser also has limb bolts on that you would remove to fit the limbs. So working on this one, each bow does have a top and bottom limb, so we do have to make sure we have it on the correct way around. So looking at the limbs, the bottom limb of this bow, see how we've got the shape curving like so, it's going to be the one with the graphics on the inside. It says, this limb here says cap, and if it was upside down, that writing would be upside down as well. But the heavy print is on the inside and on the bottom. And the riser, which is this wooden section, is identified for the top and bottom where the arrow shelf will be. So the arrow is going to rest on top of the arrow shelf. Bottom half of the riser is this side. Bottom limb fits snugly in the limb pocket. And it's fitted with the washer away from the bow. Not this way around, that's the wrong way around. It's going to be this way. So sometimes they're a bit tight in the pockets, but that's fitted in nicely. Spin the bolt up and just nip it up. You don't have to crunch this down. The pressure of the bow itself will stop this from vibrating out. So just nip that up. Top limb. Okay, and make sure they're seated, flush on both ends. Just push that in a bit. Perfect. That's the larger bow. There is a particular thing you should look at on the small one, if you have this one, is that the limbs are tighter fit on this bow than they are on that one. So looking at this one to identify the top and bottom, it's a different brand of limb for this bow. The bottom limb has got Polaris written on the inside. Look at the shape, because the top one, that's different writing on the top. Polaris on the inside. The bottom pocket. You'll find that this is very tight to fit, and you'll think, when you first get it, you'll think, oh, this limb isn't going to fit very well in there, it feels a bit tight. But it's fine, it's fairly flexible on the edges here. But the way to put it in is start right at the top. So we're putting it in this direction, and you're pushing it in, and then pressure it down like so. So rather than trying to just slide it in from the bottom, it will go, but we just find it's easier to shove it in right at the back and push it down. Same thing here, knit the limbs up, snug but not over tight. Okay, so the limbs fitted on both of these bows. See, one's just a small version of the other. The shape of the bow is the same. The only difference really is the material the riser is made out of. But they both shoot very well. Let's get a string on it next. I'm going to show you now how to string the bow. Stringing the bow is a very important task of using archery equipment, obviously. But it's not as simple as it may sound. Now, I may have demonstrated different ways of stringing bows with different equipment that we've used. But this style of bow, it's a recurve, it's a laminated recurve limb on it. Take down recurve bow, should always use a bow stringer to string this type of bow. It's quite sensitive to twisting, and if you use a stringer, it's easier, it's safer, and it'll prolong the life of your bow as well. So we've included a stringer with the kit. So let's start with just finding the correct end of the bowstring. Now, most strings should have one loop bigger than the other, which is going to identify the top half of the string. So in this case, I'm going to grab hold of the top half of the string with a bigger loop, and we're going to hook this over the top half of the bow. We're going to slide down the limb. And the way we've identified the top half of the bow is that the arrow is going to rest on the arrow shelf, and everything above it is the top. So that's where we start, top down on it. The other end of the string, with a smaller loop, will fit over the bottom lock. There is a groove on the limb tips here, so that will fit snugly over the end. Now, one of the common mistakes a lot of beginner archers make, especially with the first bow, is that they assume that the string on the bow will be strung in this direction. And it's quite easy to put a string on the wrong way, fit it together like this and think you've strung the bow, but this is not the way you string a bow. Don't be embarrassed if you've done that. I think a lot of people have thought the same. So the correct way to string a bow is what we're going to do. Let's start again here. Top loop over top half of the bow. Bottom loop on. And we need to bend the bow so those limb tips are bending away and the string will be slid up to the top. So the stringer that we've included is a very valuable gadget. A few different designs of this type of thing, but ours have got a big loop on the top, which is going to be threaded over the top half of the bow. And the bottom half of the stringer has got a pouch on it here. So first of all, double check that that bottom string is still fastened correctly to the end, and then just slide this pouch over. It's going to hold the string in place. Now the next stage is obviously we've got to bend the bow. Now it's important where this stringer sits on the limb. We need to sit the stringer just below the string loop at the top. So if you was to take the string and push the string up as far as it will go until it stops, the string will rest just below the loop at the top. We don't want to bend the limb with the string halfway down or even further down. The limbs are not designed to bend in this place, and you will break the limbs. If you try to string it with the stringer in the wrong place, it's going to break. So slide the stringer up just below the loop at the top. You've got to pinch the sides of the limb, so you're going to grip the stringer on the sides of the limb. And what that allows us to do with your foot on the bottom strap, it gives a good leverage position to be able to bend the bow. But you must maintain your grip on the side of the limb here, because if you weren't gripping it, and by gripping it I don't mean it takes a super powerful grip to hold it in place, just pinch it, you'll feel it. Just have a little practice, you'll feel it. If you let go of it, it's going to want to slide, and it will slide up here. So you've got to hold it on the side until, at a point when you've bent it a certain distance, the position of the stringer is going to be held in place by itself. So from that, you're going to bend it quite a way up. You can then let go of the stringer and slide the string to the tip, grab the stringer again and relax it down. It might take a little bit of practice to do that. I think we all still struggle with it from time to time, but it is quite easy to do once you get hold of it. Now, before you attempt to draw the bow, make sure that the string loop is still correctly fitted to both shoulders of each limb tip. It is possible to string it incorrectly and have one half of the loop hanging off the side of the limb. And when you try to draw the bow, the string is going to come off, and well, we don't want that to happen. So that's correctly fitted. A little test draw. One thing you should never do with the excitement of putting your bow together for the first time is to think, oh, I'm going to have a test shot now, and you draw it back and you let go. That's called dry firing the bow. Now, you never let go of a bow without an arrow in, it will damage the bow. So you can have a test draw, but don't let go yet. We're not ready for that yet. That's how you string this bow. With the smaller bow, everything is exactly the same, but just to give you a quick mention of one of the differences you might find is, I'll just use this to demonstrate. Now, this is quite a long strap, and I was bending it with my foot in the middle of the bow stringer, and it's fairly high up to my waist already. It's perfectly okay to use 2 feet to shorten the strap, and whatever height you may find suitable for stringing, you can use 1 foot or 2 feet. That's how you string this bow. So after stringing the bow, to prepare it ready for shooting, we need to fit an arrow rest and knocking point. So we include a plastic arrow rest. They are left and right hand specific. I haven't mentioned up until now that both of these bows are available in left-handed and right-handed. So if you're a right-handed person, that means you would hold the bow in the left hand and you draw the string with your right hand. So this is a right-handed bow. If you have a left-handed bow, everything will be a mirror image. So the right-handed arrow rest comes with a double-sided pad. Let's just stick that to the back of the arrow rest. And you'll notice there's a hole in the arrow rest and there's a hole in the bow. This hole is there for an additional accessory that you could purchase at a later time should you need to, but for what we're doing today, this arrow rest is suitable for this bow. So peel the other half off. And just stick it directly over the hole. Line the 2 holes up. These arrow rests do wear out and break over a period of time. They're very low cost if you need to get spares, but you should get many 100 shot out of that arrow rest before you need to change it. And the the arrow will rest on the arrow rest. That's exactly what it's for. Next thing we need to do is set the knocking point. Now, the knocking point is an identification on the string to position your arrow in the same place each time, because if it's not in the same place each time you'll get very inconsistent shots. So the position for the arrow will be anywhere from exactly 90 degrees to the bowstring or just a bit higher. So we're not being super critical on this. Use your eye as a judgment. Ideally we'd want it, say, 4 or 5 millimeters above 90 degrees. I don't know if you can pick that up and see that that arrow is slightly high, which means when you shoot it everything's going to come slightly high through the bow. We don't want it set so the arrow is below centre. That's going to cause impacts and all sorts of problems. So just line up, that's 90 degrees, and then just slide it up 4 or 5 millimeters. That will be perfectly fine. So what we've included is 2 brass knock sets, 2 brass knocking points. You can use masking tape top and bottom, electrical tape top and bottom. You don't have to use these, but they are a common feature of many bows and they do work. And these little brass things slip over the string. Now I've got a pair of knocking pliers which is not included in the kit. It's a round-ended plier which matches the shape of the knocking point because we're going to pinch it on the string. But you can do it with some regular flat pliers if you just carefully squeeze it at a few different degrees each time as you work your way around, and you can pinch it on. So the knocking point slides on from this side so you can see better. A bit fiddly, and you don't crush these on, you're just nipping them on, you're just rounding it off onto the string. That's one underneath. Just check my position's okay in case I accidentally move the arrow. Still looks okay. And oh, they're easily lost. I've definitely got it on here somewhere. Here it is. Top one above the arrow, and we want to leave a little gap. So we're not putting these knocking points on hard up against both sides of the arrow. Pinch that one up. You want to leave a couple of millimeters gap between the top and bottom, so you can just feel the arrow slide up and down just a little bit in between. Oops. And that's the knocking point ready to go. 2 of the accessories we've included is a finger tab and an arm guard, or a bracer it might be called. Finger tab is to protect your fingers, stop them getting sore against the bowstring when you shoot. So it's quite a simple leather stamping really. You just slide your 2 fingers through here and then it lays on the front of your hand. So when you draw the string you've got some protection on your fingers. You may find that this tab may be too tight for some people or too loose for other people. There is an alternative option in regarding knocking points where you may even find you don't need a finger tab. These bows are reasonably lightweight, but if you're going to shoot for quite a few hours you're going to get sore fingers. So you could wrap some masking tape or electrical tape top and bottom. A few wraps makes a nice soft cushion for your fingers. So if you really don't get on with the finger tab, try that, works really well. The arm guard is to stop the string from brushing your arm as you shoot. Now if you shoot with good technique, the string shouldn't touch your arm. However, we've not all got good technique, so this is there for those occasions where the string might whip your arm. And it does hurt a bit if you hit your arm with the bowstring. It's not the end of the world. Everybody's done it. You might get a little bit of bruising if you're constantly hitting the string in the same place every time with no arm protection, but it's bearable. Once or twice it's bearable. If you're continually hitting your arm with the string, you're doing something wrong. This is there just to give that bit of protection. So when you shoot the bow, that's going to be in the correct area for any string slap that you might get. So that's the arm. Let's get the finger tab back on. Quiver. Let's get ready to shoot. I'll give you a demonstration in a minute. 5 arrows. These are really good arrows. These are strong fiberglass arrows. They are quite low cost. We sell them separately as well. Everybody loses arrows from time to time. We've included 5 arrows. You can never have enough arrows, but we think 5 is enough to get you going. Got my bow, quiver, finger tab, arm guard. Let's go and do some shooting. Okay, we're outside now. I'm going to give you a quick demonstration on how to shoot the bow. One of the first things to make sure though is that the target is positioned in a safe place. Now I've set this target approximately 6 meters away from where I'm going to shoot. 6 meters is the minimum distance I suggest for a bow like this, because there is a risk, a small risk, that the arrow may bounce out of the target. And if the arrow bounces out, we don't want it to reach us. So I'd say 6 to 7 meters is about that minimum distance. You've also got to make sure that nobody could possibly walk behind or in front of the target, or even if we should have a miss and the arrow will just simply go where we don't expect it. So as long as we've got all those things covered and you're aware of those, making sure everything's safe, we're ready to start shooting. Let's see, now stance is important, 90 degrees to the target. I'm going to draw the string with 3 fingers, 1 finger above the arrow and 2 below. When I draw the bow, I'm always going to keep the bow level with the target. I'm not going to draw high and drop down, always nice and level to the target. When I draw the bow, I'm going to draw the finger to my corner of my mouth here. That'll be a good reference point to shoot from. It's very important to be aware of the length of the arrow. Now these arrows are 29 inches, which is suitable for most adults. However, always be aware of it, that we don't want the arrows to draw too far and drop inside the bow here. Especially on the children's bow. The children's bows are going to have 26-inch arrows, which is plenty for the size of the bow. But should you mix them up or just accidentally draw the bow too far, just be aware of it. It's important that you're aware of the length of the arrow. Knocking of the arrow to the string between those 2 brass knock sets that we put on. You'll notice we've got 1 fletching of one colour and 2 fletchings of another colour. The single coloured fletching is the index fletching, which always faces to you when you put the arrow on the bow. Because when we shoot it, we want the 2 fletchings here to go flush against the face of the bow, not the other way around. Otherwise we're going to have a deflection here and it's going to bounce off. So with the arrow knocked, the stance ready, 1 finger above 2 below. When I aim the bow, the point of the arrow is going to be somewhere lower than the gold. It's not going to be on the middle of the gold. If you put the point of the arrow on the gold thinking it's going to go in the gold, it won't happen and you'll probably miss the target right over the top. So it'll take a bit of practice to get used to the feel of the bow. Let's see if we can hit the target. Oh, great first shot. A bit lucky I think on that one. You do get used to how the bow feels. Each bow's a little bit different. Well, they're all in the target, they're all sticking in. Need a bit more practice, but I hope that gives you a good idea to what you should expect from this bow, and potentially this could be a bow kit suitable for you.